Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited for this episode today. Today I have Christy Kilduff. Kilduff. Wow, Christy, I'm sorry. I'm like chopping that up, right? Christy Kilduff. She is the founder of Awakened Achiever. Awakened Achiever was born out of an acute understanding that while we as women are told we can have it all and do it all, it is rarely that simple. In our pursuit of a fulfilling career that we juggle in between school drop off lines and household commitments, we find ourselves making concessions to our personal well being, relationships, or ambitions. And we try to navigate it all, but find ourselves overwhelmed by a world that rarely supports it all. Their mission is to radically change this. They are empowering women with a different way of being. You don't have to choose between excelling in your career and being fully present at home. You can find alignment and succeed in all areas of your life with the right tools and support. A life of clarity, alignment, and ease is within reach. Christy, welcome. I'm so excited to have this conversation today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's just dig right in. So, talk to us about how the Awakened Achiever actually came to pass. Tell us a little bit about your background and how this showed up for you.
Yeah, sure. I started my career about 20 years ago now. And throughout my career, there was one commonality, which was I was very ambitious. I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. And I was really successful. I was at a couple of different companies, startups, became, leaders in each of these companies. And that continued on for quite a bit. And I was very lucky in that one of the companies that I was at for almost 10 years, I was able to grow my career while growing my family. So I had three kids while I was there, and I didn't feel like I had to sacrifice my growth for that, which I know isn't everybody's experience, but I was lucky for that. And I think a big piece of it was because I was surrounded by other working women, moms, as my leaders, as my coworkers, who really just understood maybe some of the needs that come up that are unique for a working mom. But then I made a career change almost 2 years ago, and it was a different situation. It was a different dynamic. It was a different leadership, different company, different everything, and I found myself in a really tough spot without the support that I had had previously. And by tough spot, I mean like high pressure, toxic, a lot of performance needs there, and I burnt out. And so I had had, let's say, 18 years behind me of being able to be really successful in my career and to do well. And I found myself spiraling in, I don't feel like I'm doing well. I don't feel like I can manage all of this pressure with my family. I stopped being present with my kids. I was literally sending messages while trying to give a bath or um, like trying to race through books with my kids to get back to the computer, and really just like not looking them in the eyes, just completely being somewhere else and focused on something else. And it was just such a light bulb moment for me. So this was spring of 2024, and I just went into this inward journey of like, what are the things that I need to do for myself so that I can feel better, I can be more present, and that was a lot of mindfulness techniques. That was listening to a lot of mental health, spiritual podcasts, things that really help me to come back to who I am and to just ultimately know where to find my grounding so that I could be better, I could be more present. So did a lot of work. And then I realized, but where's my people? Where's my other women around me that are in a similar situation and that, are helping me feel heard and seen and in the trenches with me. Um, and so I created it. I had a lot of friends
Like,
around
what
me.
do they say? Build it and they will come, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think that phrase all the time, actually.
right.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had friends, I had coworkers who would say have these same needs, but there wasn't like a structured place for us to come together and to have these moments of togetherness and healing and being heard and validated. And so that was the birth of Awakened Achiever, was to create that space, and it's been about a year now.
I love that. So tell me and the listeners, I mean, I know a little bit about your journey, but tell the listeners, what Awakened Achiever actually is. It's not a physical place that people can come to, but there are some in-person stuff, events, right? So what exactly is Awakened Achiever?
Yes. So it is a growing community. So the heart of it is really, first of all, the women who are deciding to come together. And you're right, that's in different formats. But it's women who are ambitious, who are very driven, who have probably typically been the women that are on the go, are maybe a little bit of a perfectionism, and they're kind of over it. And they're like, there's something deeper, there's something bigger, and I want to focus on my emotional, mental, and spiritual health in
Mm.
order to feel like I can be my best self for everyone around me. And so, Awakened Achiever are the moments and the experiences where these, I like to say, like-hearted women come
Yeah,
together.
I love that.
Um, and so, yes, we have events. So we have like in-person workshops and events. We do dinners. We do like workshops where you're learning different things that are related to to well-being and health. And then we also have an online app now where we're coming together. We're continuing to keep the connection going outside of those events. And there's resources like affirmations and meditations and things like that, so people can keep up on their own on the
And we'll
journey.
be putting the link to that app in the show notes so people can get access to that. The saying "you can have it all." I think I'm a little bit older than you, but there was this commercial that you can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, right? And the woman is doing all the things, right? And we do hear that all the time. You can have it all. You can do it all. But what's really the truth behind that message, and how are you helping women rewrite it?
Okay, so not only do I think we can't have it all, but I don't want to have it all in the way that that phrase
Yeah.
implies. Because having it all implies a sense of like you're striving for something, right? You're pushing
Right.
towards something. And I reject that at this point. I want to be able to sit with myself in peace with where I'm at, and most importantly, in presence, and be happy with where I am right now. And I think the other ancillary things, when you feel good, um, and on the inside, those ancillary things will also feel better. And so I get where that phrase was coming from, but I just don't think it's true. And I actually think it's toxic, what it's implying.
Yeah, I love that. Um, Not everyone recognizes they're in burnout.
Yes.
And people and women especially just keep pushing through. So what were the signs for you that, that other women can look for before it's too late? And
Yeah.
what were you able to do to actually start to shift that? Because sometimes we're like, I got shit to do and I need to just push through.
Yeah. So I've always had it like some level of anxiety that I understood that I had. I have always been, which what I understand now, predisposition to want to control things because that's what made me feel safe. And so I think the first understanding of that I was going into burnout was this just like heightened anxiety. And for me, I feel
Mm,
that in my chest. And it feels like, to be very descriptive, I can't get a deep breath in. And it just
mm.
felt like constantly there's something on my chest. And so I felt that accelerate, 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 and it like wasn't going away. And then very reactive. So with people at work, with my
And you were
family.
noticing it though, because
Yes.
oftentimes we don't notice that in ourselves, right? Especially when it's building up like that, it just becomes natural. It just becomes natural. Like I got shit to do, get out of my way. I don't have time for that, right? Like that just becomes natural. So kudos to you for even recognizing it, because often we don't even recognizing it.
And I think like there was a long time where I didn't notice it, but I think it
Sure.
became
Yeah.
so extreme. And my husband made sure to tell me too, right?
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, honey. Right? Right?
Yeah. And then I would say the other thing is sort of the examples I gave before, where I realized that I was just not present in general.
Mm.
And It went on for a while, honestly, before I really recognized it, but I would turn around
What
and
did that look like for you? Just so other women can recognize that, because that might be different for everyone. But what does not looking present look like for you?
I don't hear my kids when they're asking me a question maybe at the end of the day and they're like, "Hey mom," and I'm like, "Hold on, I'm trying to respond to this email on my phone." And I think I'm there because I'm sitting with them while they're sort of playing around, right? But I'm not fully there and I'm not hearing the questions that they're asking me. Or um honestly, one that I think is even less obvious is maybe I'm making dinners and putting things out, but I'm in my head thinking about, I need to send this email, I need to set up that meeting. I'm so frustrated by what so and so said to me in that meeting earlier and thinking about all the ways I'm going to respond that I don't hear any of the laughter that's going on
Mm,
at the table. I don't hear the conversations that's happening, and I wouldn't be able to tell you back what just transpired for those 30 minutes at the table with my kids. And it was that like lack of just remembering or understanding that, like, while I'm physically there, I'm not even on my phone. I look like I'm doing the motions, but my
right.
brain is everywhere else besides there.
And what did you do to stop bringing yourself back? I know you said mindfulness and, some other stuff, but what's one thing somebody listening who goes, "Oh my God, that's me." What's one thing you would recommend to a woman right now to start being more present with her family?
So the first thing that I did, and I remember how I knew it started to work, was I could feel myself taking deep breaths.
Mm.
Versus that heavy feeling on my chest was I use Spotify and I just started using the guided meditations. And I would use that in the morning, in between like dropping my kids off at school and then going to get my coffee, coming back. And it would be a 10-minute guided meditation. And I would just do the breathing. I wouldn't close my eyes while I was
I was
driving.
like, "I'm sorry, while you were driving, you were meditating?"
I didn't close my eyes, but I would like,
That's great.
follow the
Right.
breathing and it
Yeah.
would be very relaxing for me. I would do meditations before bed, but I sometimes fall asleep. So that's why I kind of like it in the
Which
morning.
is okay for those listening. That's okay, right? And I use Insight Timer, so it's another meditation app, and I do sometimes a walking meditation, and it really just helps me like pay attention to the leaves, and I walk the same path, and I'm like, oh, I never noticed that before. Oh, that tree's always been there, but it just brings you back to present.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And it was teaching me these ways of breathing, like the holding in, breathing in for 4, holding for 7, exhaling for 8, allowed me to get deeper and deeper and deeper with my breath. That really helped me. And to your point, the being more present and mindful in those moments of doing it.
well, and I'm curious, are you still at that job? Is that the job you're still at? So because I would imagine all the toxicity did not change, right? All the things didn't change. So you had to be the one that made the shifts. So the emails still have to go out, the people still said the things. So how, when you're in that moment, is it just a retraining of yourself? Like what is it that you're doing differently now when you are with your family making dinner or playing with the kids?
And here's what I think this is a really good, important point to make because when I talk to other women, I feel like we get really hard on ourselves or judge ourselves for like going back into these patterns again that like we feel like, oh, we're working so hard to go through it. So I think two parts of this. One is because I'm doing the inner work to feel more peace within myself. I am not relying as much on what this person said or what this meeting is that needs to be.
Doesn't matter anymore,
Doesn't
right?
matter as
Yeah.
much. And like
Because
I'm still
oftentimes we're trying to prove ourselves, right? You're trying to prove, and if you don't need to do that anymore, I love that. Yeah.
so that's part of it. I mean, so it's easier for me to hold boundaries. Am I perfect at it? Absolutely not.
Right.
And I think the second point is like it's more about the bounce back rate for me now. So am I in a meeting and somebody asks a really annoying question and I'm like, ah, like yes, that still happens, but
Yes.
I see it, I recognize it, I name it, and I can like pull myself back out of it much quicker. I
Right.
think that's important because that's like an important part of healing and evolution that I feel like people overlook or get frustrated with themselves
Well,
on.
and one of the things I say to my clients all the time is like, you're still human, right? You're going to have the responses. It's just how you choose to respond now, or the reactions. It's just how you choose to respond to it. Um, what would you say to a woman who feels like she's constantly showing up for everyone else, but she really is just running on empty?
I think there is this misnomer that as moms and as women that like we need to put everybody in front of ourselves first, especially our children. We feel like, I'm the mom. I should be making sure that they're fully taken care of at all expense. And I believe so strongly that we are actually doing a disservice to our kids by acting on that belief, because here's what happens. When you are pushing through, or when you're going through like unhealed, unworked through issues, they don't actually go away. What
Right.
happens, what happens is that
Hey, come out sideways.
exactly, their behaviors that then
Right.
exhibit themselves, and it becomes like these energetic patterns that everybody around you then needs to work around. So
Right.
like your unmet fear, as an example, becomes anxiety and controlling behavior. And then your kids are experiencing, the controlling behavior that is not going to serve them growing up, or your husband or your
Right.
partner is going to be experiencing the controlling behavior that's going to lead to resentment. So those unmet needs of yours, they are not hidden. You're not doing that good of a job hiding them. They're just coming out in different behaviors that are then
Right.
making these patterns that your other people need to work through. So I think the most important thing that we can do is to work on that for ourselves so that we make a better experience for everybody around us.
Yeah. I often say to my clients, you have to put the oxygen mask on you first before you put it on your children, your partner, your whoever. And I said that to a woman years ago. um, and she was like, that actually pisses me off when you say that. I was like, but if you're dead, you actually aren't there for your children.
Right.
And you're teaching your kids,
Exactly.
right? They watch you, whether you're giving them the words and saying this is how you show up, right? Like you're teaching them to not be present or to be present just by your actions. It's
Yep.
not by your word. We learn more by what we see than what we're told, I think. Right? So how do you want your kid? Do you want your kids to go through the same thing, right?
1,000%. And we actually did a workshop a couple months ago that was around dysregulation, for our kids, around like, how to like understand it's like almost like a rainbow that happens when a child becomes dysregulated. But also the other part of it was in ourselves. What are our triggers and how do we react to that dysregulation? And a lot of it was exactly like you said, if we're saying, calm down, because we're on edge, because our nervous systems are dysregulated, and because we're on, overload, burnout. That is what our kids are seeing. And so
Right.
it's about us recognizing our own triggers, our own nervous system healing that we need to do in order to show up for our kids in the way that's going to help them be able to grow and learn and evolve. Like, I think that this is multi-generational change.
Oh, 100%. I actually just witnessed my own dysregulation a couple of hours ago. I was on a group coaching call. I'm in a group coaching program, and I was on the call, and a friend called, and I know she's on her way to do a really important talk. So I instantly go into, oh my God, what's wrong? How can I fix it? What do I need to do? And I was like, I felt, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling all the feels, right? And I was like, no, this call is for you. You have to stay on this Zoom. But I'm worried about my poor friend. So end the call. It goes a little bit over, and I was like, inside, I'm like, come on, people, wrap it up. I gotta go. I gotta make sure she's okay because my thing is, I'm a caretaker. And she called but didn't leave a voicemail, but she sent me a Marco Polo, which is a video, and she wanted to share something exciting with me. There was no problem. There was nothing wrong. I called her back and I said, I just want to thank you because I just processed this whole thing. And she was like, we were both laughing. I was like, it was fascinating to me to see, because in the past, I would have actually left the call to take her call because I would have been in panic. But I was like, no, this is for you and your business. You need to be here, right? but we still have the dysregulation can still show up for us, but how we respond and choose is different, right? I was like, wow, thank you for that next layer I needed, because I sat there and worked through it for 15 minutes, right? But it still shows our old patterns are so deep. And it is generational stuff, and it could be past life stuff, right? Like it's there's so many layers. There's so many layers. I love that.
Thank you for being a teacher, friend.
Right? Oh my God. I called her and I was like laughing as she answered. And she's like, "What's so funny?" I'm like, "I just need to tell you that for 15 minutes I've been in panic mode of like, how can I get to you? What do you need? What the problem is?" I was problem solving a problem that wasn't even a problem. She just started laughing. I was like, "Yep, that's my pattern." Um, so I would imagine when you started doing this mindfulness work and self-awareness, how do you fit that into your calendar? Right? You're a busy mom of three and you have a full-time job. So what were some of the things that you started to do in order to prioritize your well-being without it feeling like one more thing on your to-do list, right? The women I work with are addicted to busyness. So I'm always trying to find ways that it's not one more thing they have to do. So I'm curious, how did you do it and what would you recommend?
No, and it's true, right? Like I'm work a full-time job, have three kids, I'm building a weekend achiever in the community, and it's like, how was your time? Plus all the things for myself, right?
Right.
And so, like I described earlier, part of it is fitting it into the moments that already exist that maybe I was just letting go by, as in like when I'm driving in the car to like listen to meditations. And I do, one of my hacks that I like is like 10 minutes in the middle of the day at lunchtime doing a walk around the block just to get the sun, feel the ground, and I will listen. I'll listen to things during then too. I mentioned I've listened to a lot of podcasts, a lot of like spiritual podcasts like Gabby Bernstein. I listen to Old Wayne Dyer, things like that. And I'll listen to that in the morning while I'm doing my makeup and doing my hair. And honestly, it's such a helpful way to start the day too.
Mm,
So I feel like that's why a lot of this is in the morning for me because
yeah,
it really sets the tone. And then I'm going into, back to back to back meetings, which can unfortunately reset me in a negative way. So
sure.
one of the things that I've started doing is actually doing these 30 minutes. I'm calling them power pause, but I actually bring in women from anybody can join, but within the Awakened Achiever community, and we just do 30 minutes in the middle of the day, just reset. And so
Mhm.
it's breathing. It's just sitting, feeling our feet on the ground, feeling our hands on the chair, and then doing a little bit of like, okay, here's how I want to feel moving out of this meeting. And here's who I want to be to the people that I interact with. And it's a really good way to reset before your afternoon meetings or even like shifting from afternoon to picking up the kids, because that's a hard transition too, is like
Sure.
brain is just go, 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 go. And then now I need to shift into picking up the kids, unpacking their lunch boxes, making them dinner. They're screaming, running around the house. And so my mindfulness then is adhering to more of the boundaries, not looking at the phone, putting the phone down. And then finally, one of the things that I've started doing recently is I'm doing like this 5 minute journaling at the end of
Mm,
the night. And I'm putting on this just like timer. So it's 5 minutes and it's free right around um, basically envisioning what do I want life to look like, whether it be how I feel, what there is, but it's like I'm so happy, thankful, grateful for. And then I just write for 5 minutes.
nice. Yeah.
Um, and that's a nice sort of end to the day, essentially. And it's what I found is that like writing it down, things come out that you don't even realize.
You
Uh,
know, journaling's one of those things that my husband and I have been having this conversation lately because he has resistance to journaling. And I was like, all the more reason you probably need to do it. But years ago, I learned a way because I will, just write. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was in there. But
yeah.
there's a cool way of doing it is you write a question with your dominant hand and then your answer with the non-dominant hand. And your brain can't do both. So you're even more surprised at what comes up, right? You're like, oh, I didn't even know that was in there. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
love the finding ways to the hacks of already
Mm,
integrating it into what you're already doing. I work from home. I don't have children that I'm driving anywhere. So there are days I don't even drive. And I used to listen to podcasts and books on tape when I drove, but I don't do it often. But what I find now when I drive a lot in silence
mm,
because like even radio, I mean, sometimes I like to listen to the music and crank it up and what have you, but sometimes I just want the silence because there is so much noise everywhere else. And although it's not meditative or anything else, it's not distracting either. And it's just me and my thoughts, right?
yep,
It's just me and presence. And
yep.
I've done it on like hour-long drives, right? It's just like, okay, just be in the car, just be present.
Yeah, and I think like that's such an important place to be where you can sit with yourself, right, for an hour-long drive and not feel like you need to be distracted or you're spiraling. And so I
Right.
think like it's a good practice to have. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to kind of go back to the generational, impact that you mentioned because it really is generational, right? You probably are showing up because your parents showed up that way, because their parents showed up, and so on and so on and so on, right? I work with a lot of clients that, heard work hard, right? Like you're lazy if you're not working hard, right? You got to do all the things. And so often that comes from fear, right? Because when you think about, our grandparents grew up in the Depression and right, so a lot of it is fear driven. But what does it mean to model a different way of being for your children? And why do you think it's so important?
I can give you an example of
Yeah,
like, ooh, this is working. Um, So, I'll give the example first, but so my two youngest are five, almost 6 and 3.5, and they're best buddies. But they can also make them, they get at each
sure.
other too. And so there was a recent night when they were like running around or whatever, and something happened, and my youngest, who is a Spitfire, starts screaming and crying and like can't calm her down. And at first they're fighting, and then my middle, Aiden, he's like, okay, you need to calm down. Like, this is too much, you know? So what he does is she's like sitting on the steps, like, and so he's like, Clara, and starts modeling to her
I
deep
love that.
breathing. And then she's like, she sees her brother doing it, and he's like, and then she starts doing it. She starts doing it, and then she looks at me, she goes, all better. And I was like,
I
that
love
was
that.
the coolest, I don't know, moment for me as a parent. And I think maybe from that is like, obviously, yes, I've talked about the skills. They've seen me encourage them to do the skills. They have seen me in moments. I try when I'm frustrated, because I get frustrated, I'll
Of
say,
course. Yeah.
Mommy is feeling frustrated. I need to like take some deep breaths right now. So I try to model it as well. But I think, you know, maybe what I think is important in that example to show too is that like it's okay to feel your feelings, right? It's okay to have those experiences. In fact, it's really important to feel the feelings.
Right.
The parent, one of the famous parent doctors says like all feelings are welcome, all behaviors are not, right? But
Right.
you know, that they feel like they can feel it and then they can work through it and then they can move on. And so I think like modeling is also giving them permission to do that. And like I said, showing them that I do it, they are safe to do it. And then how cool is that to encourage others?
That's awesome. I love that. And I
Yeah.
think it's so important, it's really easy for me because I don't have children to say this, but often when we look at parents and they're not doing anything wrong, this is generational. How often does a kid fall and start crying and a parent says, you're okay, you're okay, you're fine, you're fine. right? As adults, we're uncomfortable with the emotions that the kids are having. So from a very young age, we are told your emotions aren't okay. They're too big. They're too fill in the blank. They're not safe. So we don't process emotions. Um, this won't drop for, a few weeks or whatever, but the podcast that dropped last week was on grief. And we
Mhm.
talked about grief, right? Like, okay, a parent dies, you get 3 days off of work, and then you got to get back to life,
Yeah.
right? We don't allow ourselves to process emotions. So I love the fact that A, your kids recognized it, and then B, had tools to do it, right? Like, your kid was having a feeling. Let them have a feeling, right? But
Yeah.
you're right. Like, you can't be punching walls or hitting, your siblings, but go cry into a pillow or punch a pillow is okay, right? Letting it out.
And I will say that, what you're describing, I definitely recognize it in myself. I did. My oldest is
I
she
think
really
every parent does that. I mean, I think yeah,
but she really emotes. Like I've been saying since she was a baby, she is loud. She's the loudest crier, and she's like very like I think she's an empath too.
yeah,
But she feels big feelings, and there, for a long time, and still sometimes I struggle with it. I'm like, it frustrates me, and I don't, and I
yeah.
think it's exactly like you said. It's making me uncomfortable.
Right,
I don't
right,
I want her to stop experiencing that so it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable.
right.
But to the point we made earlier, even the fact now that I recognize it and that like
Yeah,
I can shift gears, even if my immediate knee-jerk reaction is like, Emily, stop, you're fine.
right. Especially if you're out in public, right? God forbid a kid cries out in public, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That it's important to like notice that the bounce back rate.
Right.
Because we all still are gonna fall into those patterns. And that was
Yeah,
certainly one for me of the discomfort of her feelings.
right. Because I work with women in busyness, I always love to ask questions around it a little bit. So, what does busyness look like for you, and how do you know when it's time to pause?
Okay. I know it's time to pause when I feel like this unending urge to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It like rises in me as this like anxiety of like, if I'm like, I have five different things I need to do and it's making me feel anxious, like I have recently learned that that is when I actually need to not do anything
Yeah.
because it's like coming from an unhealthy place. If I feel like I want to do something because it feels aligned or it feels just like I'm energized by it, then I do it. Now, obviously, I can't always say that about everything I have to do, like in my
Of course.
day job.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, busyness for me at this stage of my life is it's very little time, and we talked about this earlier, but very little time for myself and for my own nurturing because it's a lot of caretaking for children, a lot of I'm a leader at my company, so it's a lot of caretaking for my
For everyone
employees.
else. Yep.
Yes, caretaking for my cross-functional partners. And then I feel like you hear women talk a lot about this, but the mental load too, where I am the one that knows all the kids' sizes and I'm getting all their clothes. I am the one that is changing out their closets for the seasons. I am the one that is booking the doctor's appointments. I am the one that is scheduling their extracurriculars. I could go on and on and on. Like
Right.
scheduling
Right.
vacations, right? Like, and so
Right.
that's part of the busyness,
Sure.
even if
And
it looks like I'm doing nothing. Yeah.
right. Right. And I will say to clients, so leave the dishes in the sink. So what? Right. And like I've had women go, whoa, I couldn't do that. Right. And I'm like, well, then let it go. Then stop with the mental chatter about it. Right. Like you have a choice. You can either dwell on it or you can let it go too.
Right.
Um, I love that. There was a question in there. You said something that I was like, ooh, what was that? Maybe it'll come back to me. What is a boundary or a practice that you put in place so that you don't slip back into constant busyness or going back to old patterns? I mean, and you're going to go back to them, but like you said, the bounce back rate is different now.
I think the boundary, and when we talk about boundaries, I feel like a lot of times people think about the boundaries that they're setting with other people, which is true. And one of them is fighting against my need for approval. And I'm not
Mhm.
worrying if I decline a meeting because it's 6 p.m. my time and I'm in the middle of dinner with my kids, or
Right.
I'm saying, no, I'm not going to go for a third time in 6 weeks travel out of state for this. Like, it just doesn't work for me. And that's hard. That's hard for
Yeah.
me. That's hard for my
Need
um,
for approval,
need for
right? Yeah.
approval
Yep.
personality that I
Yep.
have. But that's one. But I think the bigger one is my own like internal boundaries. And I think that goes back to what I was describing with like respecting myself. I'm learning so much about myself. And so like when I can recognize and feel that anxiety is rising, the boundary that I need to set with myself is stop. Like, go read my book. Like
Right.
that's what I need to go like, and my book that's just about fairies, you know?
Right.
Not self-help books. Um, and that's been probably a harder one than the boundaries with other people, but that has been the most powerful. I wake up the next day feeling so much better. And in previous me would have been like, I'm gonna wake up with like more things on my to-do list, more things that I need to do.
Right.
And it's a totally different experience than I would have thought. I feel calmer and better.
It for me, I think I notice when I'm busy, because we are busy. We're women that have, you're running a business, I'm running a business, I have a life, right? We are busy, but in the past, I would have just pushed through and wouldn't even have recognized the symptoms. But now, like if I have too much on my plate, like it's that like overwhelm. And then I'm doing nothing because I'm in a like a freeze pattern almost because I'm like, I don't even know what to do. And then it's like, okay, go sit for a minute. Walk away from the office and just go sit and relax and do nothing. And then appointments will start to cancel off my calendar. And then I go, all right, what can I take off? What can I put on? Right. So yeah, I
Yep.
love that. I always love to end with this question. What is something you live by that you want to share with our listeners?
That's a great one. I feel like my whole motto and mentality um, for the last almost 2 years now has been I want to, and I am embodying feeling better so that I can do better.
Hmm.
And I think that is an important piece of my entire journey. And we talked a little bit about this, but this isn't just about like me feeling better. And that is a big piece, but it's me feeling better so that I am better for those around me. I am better for my children. And I do see a difference. I see a difference in their levels of happiness. And I think going back to the part of it's very easy for us to put ourselves second. I think continuing to live by like this is feeling better, and that just feeling better is very good in itself. But because
Right.
it's doing better for others, and it's not even just immediate family. It is, but it's also the person in the coffee shop that I'm smiling to and having a little bit of a conversation with because I'm not in my head about something else and
Right.
how that
What's
possibly
next or what
impacts.
just happened? Yeah.
Right. Impacts their
Yeah.
days, the ripples that it can create. That's my main mantra and my main thing that I'm living by and trying to continue to live by.
I love that. That's beautiful. So tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at awakenedachiever.com and download the app would be the best place to find the broader community. And then you can see all of the events that we have upcoming. You can chat with other like-hearted women, find some resources that are in there. And if you go to my website, there is a direct link to sign up. And like you said in the show notes, there'll also
Yeah,
be a
we'll put all that stuff in the show notes. We'll put all your socials, your website, and everything like that. Christy, this was such a great conversation. Thank you so much for this. It's much needed. I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of the listeners. So I do pull cards after everyone. Today's cards we pulled are the Guides of the Hidden Realms from Colette Baron Reed. So I have three cards in front of me. I have left, right, and center. I'm going to let you choose first.
center.
That's the one I knew you were going to choose. Ooh, and there's always some beautiful connection. Death reclaims a life. Natural endings, grief, letting go, the sacred quality of death. And I'm not thinking literal death, like it's the death of the old version of you, right? What we're talking about.
Yep.
I love that. And for those that chose left, the alchemy of poison. And this says transformational lessons, reclaiming personal choice, radical forgiveness. Because I think this work also not think, I know this work requires radical forgiveness, right? You have to be okay with the fact that you're not responding to an email at 8 o'clock at night and that you're putting your kids to bed and being okay with that. And if you choose the card on the right, happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Nice.
And that says mentorship, fulfillment, peace of mind, and self care, which is exactly what we're talking about. I love that. I love how the cards always follow the conversation. So, Christy, thank you so much for this conversation. For those of you listening, you can find all of Christy and my information in the show notes. And until next time, have an effing Friday. Thank you.